There's one thing that civil engineers can do in their career that almost guarantees they will be successful leaders. And I say that because my guest for the episode today, Rizwan Siddiqi, who is the president and CEO of EBA Engineering, he's seen this in his career, and I've seen it in interviewing hundreds of professionals. And towards the end of this interview, we're going to tell you exactly what that is. And if you do it, definitely help you to be a powerful leader. Let's jump into this week's episode of The Civil Engineering CEO. All right, now I'd like to welcome our guest for today, Rizwan Siddiqi. Rizwan is the president and CEO at EBA Engineering. Rizwan, welcome to the Civil Engineering CEO.
Thank you, Anthony. And really thanks so much for inviting me on this prestigious Civil Engineering CEO show. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. So why don't we start off first by having you tell us a little bit about EBA. What does EBA do? What are the services you offer? Where are you located? Size of the company?
So EBA is a kind of a mid-sized small business. We have about 175 employees. We're located in Mid-Atlantic with headquarters in Maryland, with 5 other offices in Pennsylvania, Virginia, D.C., and 2 offices in Maryland. We are a full-service civil engineering company. We do all kind of design from water, wastewater to transportation, bridges, structures, buildings, geotechnical engineering, site civil engineering, as well as design and construction management services. Company had been in existence since 1981, and the parent company, where the initials EBA comes from, Ewell Baumhart and Associates, started in 1952, before even I was born. So we are a very kind of a brand name company in this local Mid-Atlantic market, and we respect our clients and they respect our services, and we have a very good market sector here in Maryland and other areas.
That's great. So Rizwan, tell us about yourself. Tell us about your background, your career, kind of your career trajectory.
Thank you. So I grew up in Pakistan and did my undergrad in civil engineering from University of Engineering and Technology in Lahore, Pakistan, and then moved to US in 1993, where I did my master's from Virginia Tech in civil and environmental engineering. I'm a licensed professional civil engineer in Maryland and state of Maryland and Washington, D.C., and I live here in Maryland near Baltimore with my wife, and I have 3 children, 2 daughters and 1 son. And thank God they're all professional. Both daughters are married and they live in New York. And my son is an electrical engineer. So that's a little bit about my background. Thank you.
That's great. And I'm curious, a lot of civil engineers, they do aspire to get into like management and leadership positions. And obviously for you, you're CEO of the company. Was that something that you were kind of inspired to? Like, how did that happen in your career?
So it's very interesting. Basically, CEO position is not something you get it, but really leadership should be in you. I mean, it should be your personality. And it's not leadership as a CEO. If you are in any position, even as a project manager, you need to show the leadership, whatever you are doing, And thank God I had that qualities since the start. I started a company in Pakistan where we started from almost scratch. And when I left Pakistan, we had almost 650 employees there, So obviously to develop a team and, develop the workload, work with the employees, work with the client, that's an ongoing challenge. So you don't have to be a CEO, but obviously as a CEO, there's a lot more needed and a lot more required just from that responsibility. So what you can see is that I started with EBA, and this is I would say a success story. I started with EBA in 1997 as a project manager. Then I was offered a partnership in 2005, and then I created my own. My expertise or specialty is water systems, so water, wastewater, stormwater. So I created a new department in EBA at that time, and thank God we built it very quickly and brought a lot of new work and client. And over the last 15, 20 years, we have doubled the size of company. We opened 4 or 5 offices. And then one of my partners retired in 2015. Then I was offered as a president and CEO. So I can see that it's a progression. But whatever you do, wherever you are, whatever position you are in, I think you need to show your leadership.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. Like you said, leadership is something that is maybe within you, and the more you do it, you feel more comfortable and you start to build those leadership skills. And then you could end up wherever in the company. Could be a CEO, could be a department manager, could be a division leader. But I do think for engineering professionals, you have to make sure that you're cultivating those skill sets, because those are not skill sets that we get taught in school, of course. And while you have some inherent maybe leadership abilities, there are still things you can do to make sure that you're practicing it regularly and interacting with people. Because to me, that's really what can separate one engineer from another, is your ability to lead people effectively.
That's very true. And I would add here that as a CEO, it's not an 8 to 5 job, it's 24/7 around the clock. You have to be on toes, and not only administration and management, and particularly with a small and mid-sized company like we are with about 175 employees. I spend a lot of time with my employees also, in addition to clients and business management and corporate responsibilities. You would not believe that I'd call every employee on their birthday. And that really gives me a connection to them, whether I am at home or on the weekend or on the travel or maybe a vacationing. I find time to call them, and that gives me an opportunity to talk to them about their work environment, their families, how they're doing, how the company is doing, get their feedback also, and incorporate those comments and suggestions into the company operations later on. So that single thing really is very important, because I believe personally that it's all about employees. When you have a happy employees, then you have a happy clients, because employees take care of your clients in return. I cannot handle every client, but I do stay involved with employees. So there are a lot of responsibilities other than business development, corporate, finance, HR, quality control, which we do on daily basis. But I definitely find more time to stay engaged with the employees. And I think that's one of the key things which I like it. And I have seen positive response from our employees also.
That's great. And I think that's so important because, like you said, I mean, there's only so many things that someone could do in the course of a day or a week, especially when you're a CEO. But if you're going to prioritize, certainly prioritizing your employees, right, the people that are doing the work, that are servicing the clients, is a great way to spend your time, right? Making the calls and connecting with them. So it's really great to hear you say that.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about community service. Can you talk a little bit about the significance of community service in the field of civil engineering and how it impacts both the professionals, but also the communities that they're serving?
Yeah, it is really so important. That's what I found in my life and my career. And although it takes a lot of sacrifice from your personal time, your family time, your business time, but I see it very rewarding at the end. I mean, it's not easy, but for professionals, it offers a chance to apply their skills in meaningful ways, to get engaged. Mentorship is so important. And in return, basically, not only that you are feeling satisfied from your perspective, but you are giving something back to the community. And sometimes people shy off, if you have to leave at 5, you go home. But most of the events are in the afternoon or evenings, you have to find some time. But it gives two things. One is to networking opportunity. There are clients, there are colleagues, peers, industry professionals, there are new ideas, new technologies, which you don't hear sitting in the office, So community service is part of all those things. Number two, which I really consider community service, is that educating your clients and also developing your leadership team for future. So I really work with our youngers here and get them involved in different associations like American Society of Civil Engineer, F.ACEC, which is American Consulting Engineering Council. And they are so important because at the end of the day, it ensures our safer roads, cleaner, and drinkable water and resilient buildings and all those things, because you have to work with your communities. And it's communities, two things. Sometimes we get it confused. Community is not only our technical or engineering community, but also your own community where you live, where you work. Like I am in Maryland right now. So in Maryland, it is so important to have what's going on in the state, to stay involved with the state politics, and also infrastructure development. So I always encourage not only youngsters, but other people, find some time, stay involved. And it is very interesting that I have been involved in this almost all my career, 40 years of my career. Everywhere I find opportunities there. I was recognized by F.ACEC last year at their annual conference for the Community Service Award. And I'm really proud of that recognition because it takes a lot. But I think I have given back a lot to the communities also, whether it's a school. So I serve on a University of District of Columbia here. I serve on their Board of Education, not Board of Education, on their Board of Directors for Civil Engineering Department to help them, navigate some of their, new challenges. What is the industry versus academia, needs to know. So it takes time. I serve on Maryland Transportation Commission as a commissioner, which is a governor-appointed position. I serve on the Planning Cabinet for F.ACEC National. I serve on F.ACEC National Transportation Steering Committee. All those things take time. But it keeps you not only involved with the process, but also you get a lot of information and you can influence, you can make a change in the decision makers. And because this actually extend into, I would say, lobbying efforts also, because community service is not only with the community, but also work with your lawmakers and educate them and help them, know why we need money for all this infrastructure and all those things. So I would urge all those younger people that they should find time, and really it would be a sense of fulfillment they will feel after they get engaged. That's my 2 cents in that advice.
No, it's great. And I think as a civil engineer, especially, I know for me when I was doing consulting civil engineering, if you're working on a roadway project and you're able to connect with the people who live on that road or work on that road, it can really help you in your design process, right? Because you're talking to the end users of the project, so you can improve the project, what they need, and you build that relationship with the community because that's who you're serving as a civil engineer. I mean, that's why we have the word civil in our name, because we're serving
that's
the
very
people,
true.
Right?
I want to share a small story here. I was working on a project in Maryland. We were raising the dam by 20 feet to avoid that big flood opportunity there. And there was a lot of traffic issue. It was very, I would say, wealthy neighborhood, and they didn't want any traffic on the roads for the next few years while that whole project was going on. So I was the civil engineer in charge, and we had community meeting, and there were a lot of people. They were very concerned. So we talked to them, we listened to their concerns, and one of their concerns was truck traffic going back and forth, single lane on each direction would be a big distraction for them side. So we decided, we detoured the whole process and we tried it one-way traffic only. So they would come that way but not go that way. So at least traffic will be reduced in half. It was a little few miles long tour for the traffic, but it saved so much, nuisance with the community that when the project was inaugurated, Governor of Maryland, O'Malley at that, and Governor Martin O'Malley came in to inaugurate the project, and that same resident came to me and said, Rizwan, what is the status of project? Is it built? I said, well, come on, we are doing inauguration today. And they did not even notice just by making that little change to listen to them. That's I think, the value of community service and communication and meeting and talking to people and giving them what they want, because we can always make some small little adjustments to make things more palatable, rather than just, okay, it's 2 + 2 is 4. It's not always 4, you can adjust a little bit, whatever needed there. So
yeah, no, that's great. That's a powerful story. And at EMI, we do a lot of project management training for consulting firms. And one of the things we talk about with the PMs is, understanding all the different stakeholders on your projects, because there are a lot of different stakeholders and you need to understand how to prioritize your communication efforts with the different stakeholders, right? You've got neighbors, you've got taxpayers, you've got the emergency vehicles, FEMA, so on and so forth. So if you're a younger civil engineer or a new project manager out there, it's very important for you to understand all those different project stakeholders and how you can communicate. And I think Rizwan's story there is a good example of that, of how that communication can help you set the project up for success, because you want all the stakeholders ultimately to be on your side, or else it's going to cause problems for the project.
That's true.
So that's important. All right. So Rizwan, something else I want to talk to you about that I think a lot of civil engineers don't think about is education and lobbying efforts with lawmakers. Why is it so important for civil engineers and other industry leaders to get out there and be involved in education and lobbying when it comes to our lawmaking and our policies?
Yeah, thank you. This is a very important question you asked, really. And I'm glad that you asked, because lawmakers, obviously, they come from different backgrounds, they come from different states, obviously, and I'm talking more on the federal side. Obviously, local lawmakers are equally important, but big money comes from the federal government. So if you talk about Congress, I mean, senators and congressmen and congresswomen, they come from different states. They don't sometimes have background. I mean, how many? I don't know exactly. Maybe there's only 2 or 3 engineers in the Congress, maybe a few doctors there. So the education to them, and also every 2 years you get new lawmakers. They are just brand new in the Congress, and they need to know, and they are part of different appropriations committees and all that. So importance of educating them, why it is important to assign the budgets or money, like American Society of Civil Engineers. I love them for doing that report card. Every year they do infrastructure evaluation assessment, and they issue a report card. And I am yet to see any infrastructure report card shows better than D grade. It's always D minus or C occasionally. So like in 2024, I was reviewing that report card. Our roads and infrastructure has a grade of D, which is really ridiculous. Similarly, water infrastructure has a grade of really, C, and similar wastewater is like D, bridges is like C. And so it looks like that we are living in the country we call America, in the West and powerful, most rich country, and we're still living in third world level of infrastructure. And the accidents happen. That Key Bridge collapse in Maryland is one of the story which is really connected to that why we need money to make sure our infrastructure is maintained. Because if you buy a bicycle or a car, you have to change its oil, right? You need some money to keep it going. Same way as the infrastructure. You cannot forget when you make these roads, bridges. We take water when you open your tap, that water is coming from your tap for granted, but you see how much efforts are before the water is, basically drawn out of the ground, it's treated, put in a pipe, comes to your home, goes through so much infrastructure. So we need to keep maintaining there. So that's why lawmakers need to know what is it needed for. So we educate, and I myself am involved from ASCE, from ACEC, NASCO, and several other organizations. We do every year called a fly-in to DC, where we meet with them and educate them about, first of all, what are the needs? What are the issues, how much money we need? So this ASCE infrastructure report card have, I think, identified in 2024, we need about $2.6 trillion with T. $2.6 trillion in additional funding other than this infrastructure, AIIJ and other infrastructure which is already floating around, So, that's a huge amount of money. But look at the airports. You go to airports, you get on the trains, the quality is horrible, So that's why it is so important to educate lawmakers that why it is important. Like this Key Bridge accident in Maryland was an eye-opener. There was a bridge accident, I think, in 2022 in Pittsburgh, where a bridge collapsed, There was a 66-inch water main broke in Maryland about 10 years back on a road called River Road. You would not believe that road literally looked like a river. They had to bring helicopters to rescue people out of the cars, those who were stranded. Gosh. So why this happens? Because infrastructure is old. Some of the pipelines in Baltimore area are like 120 years old. So there is a life. You and I have a life. Hopefully, I don't know. But one day everybody has passed out. So infrastructure has a life. You cannot build a bridge or a pipeline or a road forever. So there is a money needed. And that's the critical part. I guess we need to educate our lawmakers. It's so critical. Everybody needs to get involved on that one.
So Rizwan,
I hope I answered your question.
No, you did. And just to follow up on that question, there are some mechanisms that have came about for maybe helping with the funding, like the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and some other ways that we can keep talking to lawmakers about getting funding for this. But the question I have for you is, like, on the flip side of that, let's say we get this money. I notice in talking with a lot of CEOs of companies like yours that there's a real talent shortage in our industry, right? And they're having trouble hiring people and keeping up with their project workload. So the way I see it is infrastructure is bad. We need more funding. We need more infrastructure projects, and we can't really get enough engineers to do the work we have. So I'm just curious, like, of what your thoughts are in terms of the industry and, like, how are we going to be able to do this work with the number of engineers that we have? What are you doing at EBA in terms of thinking through that?
Yeah, well, that's a really million-dollar question, honestly. Current this market, since COVID happened in 2020, a lot of people kind of either change their careers into IT, which perhaps is more lucrative compared to engineering payments. Also, a lot of people retired, they got sick, a lot of people passed away, unfortunately, So there is an acute shortage. I served on a governor's task force, workforce development task force, and we found out just in Maryland, for every 2 jobs, we only have 1 engineer. So it's basically 100% shortage right there. And this is not only Maryland, I think this is nationwide, and we're struggling ourselves also. So what we need to do, and we had been talking at ACEC, these things, as I mentioned earlier, I serve on planning cabinet. So one thing we committed there as an industry, that we'll reach out to every middle school, not high school, but middle school, to educate them about engineering profession and develop that pipeline. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next year. It may take a few years to get out of that, but we have to develop that pipeline to attract more people, to get them education about engineering, provide them more internship in our engineering companies. That's another very powerful program, unless you bring them and give them some exposure to. Because some of the younger people, when they go to college or university or community college, they have no clue what engineering is. And there are so many different fields of engineering also. So education is very important. So that's what I would say, that we have to build that pipeline, first of all. And number 1. Number 2, we have to attract in the colleges, particularly universities, and with the engineering courses. So we have to reach out to them and give more scholarships also. When I was the president for ACEC Metro Washington here, we started a scholarship program, and we're trying to get it to an endowment stage now. But the purpose was to start attracting students into more, workforce and engineering profession. They need to see that. It's so critical. And if we don't do that, guess what? All this money and all these needs will be very critical. We can only work maybe 8, 10, 12 hours a day. We can't work 24 hours a day. And there's only so many bodies there. So what would happen at the end? The quality will suffer, right? The work will suffer. Something will not get done because you don't have enough bodies to do those. So I would suggest that we need to look at, as an industry, academia, and government should mandate some of those additional seats at different schools. So I've been talking to University of Maryland over here, College Park, which is engineering campus, the chair of that department, that you need to double your seats. Honestly, next 5 years, we would need double the students what you are producing now. So there's a lot of efforts. It's not one single step will help. It's a very critical item which we really need to help get help from everybody on that. So it's a more hands on the deck we need there.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as my question from EBA, I mean, we resolve to different ways. I mean, we advertise jobs on our website. We have some of those companies like Indeed and, Zip Recruiters and others, we use them. And we also use a lot of those professional recruiting companies to do that. But if there are not many people, they're not going to generate people, right? So that is the challenge. That's one thing. And the other thing is, with this supply and demand issue, the salaries are getting kind of unrealistically increased, yeah. And which is kind of a bully market, I sometimes call. And we need to control that, because there is only a value everybody has. You right. cannot increase, but this is happening now. Companies are hiring people from other companies, giving them 20-30% more. And that's very unproductive and unprofessional. And at the end, it will hurt everybody. So I think we need to have some control on that by increasing the supply so that demand. It's just like inflation, federal government controls the inflation. We need to work as industry here too. And also we need to allow more H-1B visas to bring people from outside. There are very smart professional engineers all across the country. Now, myself an immigrant here, I see myself a good success story, and I'm sure there are a lot of other people we can bring much cheaper. So government should relax that H-1B visa requirements also.
Yeah, and I think that In fact, we have a couple of YouTube channels focused around the FE and the PE exams, and we always get messages from international engineers saying, I want to come here, but I don't know how to get my license. I don't know the process. So I think that there can be a better job of working with the visas and education around our licensure system to bring in engineers as needed, because we just don't have the supply of engineers here to keep up with the demand. And if we're going to do the Infrastructure Job Act and get more funding through the DOTs and other agencies, there's going to be more work. So it's, you don't have to be an engineer to figure out that equation doesn't really work, right? More work and less engineers, it doesn't add up. So that's something that we're going to have to focus on.
I would like to add one thing here for the government who kind of has to come in and help on this situation. You make sure you have industry on the table. Make sure you have academia on the table.
Yeah.
Because without having the stakeholders on the table, if government starts making decisions, then it would not look good. So just to connect the dot here, I served on a procurement modernization commission in Maryland, which was formed by the governor, and our lieutenant governor at that time was chairing the commission. And I was one of the members of the commission. I went to the first meeting. I have seen 20 people, and there's no disrespect to anybody, whether public service or private service. But I saw 20 people from public servants from different agencies, and just myself sitting there trying to tell them what are the challenges. I said, you need more people here because I can only give you so much. And if you knew this problem, and I got this answer that we know your problem. I said, no, you don't, because if you knew, we would not be sitting on this table. So you need to have more hands on the deck. And then we added 5 or 6 more people from industry. And I think that it resulted productively reduced about 1 year of procurement time from Maryland procurement period. It was very productive commission at the end.
That's great. Yeah, you got to have conversations with all the different stakeholders and the right parties involved. All right, so I got 2 more questions for you, Rizwan. The first one is, you talked a lot about being involved in the community. You mentioned ASCE, you mentioned ACEC. What I've heard and what I've experienced is that going ahead and joining one of these organizations is certainly a good step in your career, but where you really benefit is when you become active. You get on a committee, you get involved in an initiative. And I want you to just tell me, do you agree with that? I know you've been very active. So talk about how being active in the associations can really, really benefit you and your career.
Yeah, I think this is really a key for your success, for everybody's success, because I've seen those people, those engineers, young professionals, those who are more involved in associations like ASCE or ACEC, or there are so many other DBIA, etc., that to donate your time and to work with them. And not only it helps networking, but also helps outlook. You hear what your peers are doing. When you go to the meetings, it's a rewarding experience. It does take time, as I earlier mentioned, but younger professionals must get involved in these things from day one. So I was very young, about, I would say, 20, 25 years back when I got involved with ASCE. So our president at that time told me that, Rizwan, why don't you take the newsletter? I said, okay, I'll do that newsletter. So we were doing monthly newsletter, and started working on that. And I found out that newsletter had a lot of issues, but, you start working through that. And fast forward, after 1 year, my newsletter was picked as the national award from ASCE, the best newsletter in the country from any other sections. I didn't do anything. I just got involved. I worked with the people, and I just improved the contents just by basically bringing the real contents in the newsletter. Then I was the program chair. Now, as a program chair, my responsibility was to bring a speaker every month. Now, we would bring, it's very easy to, have some local person come in. So I invited one time the designer who designed the World Trade Center, and that was after 9/11. People loved that speaker because he told all the story, what he did, why it happened, You connect the dot. I one time invited an astronaut who went actually not on the moon, but he was in the space, first astronaut from NASA. So when you get involved and you provide some value, you feel rewarded and you do get benefits from that too. I rose the same way. I was the chair of Water Infrastructure Committee for ACEC Metro Washington. And we started from small little program. We started bringing a lot of revenue for the organization also. But as far as the younger professional learn, they can learn a lot. It's rewarding, it's gratifying, and also getting to know what the peers are doing, what other people are doing. We have also started a new called a mentorship program. I'm also a fellow of ACEC. As a part of that fellowship program, we just started last year a mentorship program. So we will bring some youth or young professionals attached with a senior person from different companies, so they learn and get to know what are these community association involvement, what it takes. And good thing is, you get your PDH credits also when you attend those events, because most of them have some kind of educational component. Number two, your companies will pay for the registration cost or your time if you're traveling, whatever. So you're not paying anything. All that you have to have a commitment. Sometimes you have to spend some of your personal time, but that's okay. To get at the end, it's a lot more. So that's my advice to all young professionals. So please do look into, if you're not involved in any association, and not only association, get on those committees. And I tell everybody that you need to think about becoming a chair of the committee, where you can make a difference, where you can really do a meaningful work. So I would urge all the younger people that please do get involved if you are not already. It's very rewarding, very benefiting, and really you will enjoy it. It helps business develop. It helps business to your companies. I mean, I get a lot of business just by networking with the different people there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because in our industry, a lot of firms work with each other. They sub to each other. So when you're around other engineering firms,
and the clients are there always.
The clients are there as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of opportunity. And the one thing I'll say is I've interviewed hundreds of civil engineering leaders, and I feel that is really a pattern, in that most of them are not only members of these organizations, but they're actively involved. They're on a committee. They're chairing a committee. You see them speaking at a conference, right? So, I know people will tell you all the time, like, join the committees and get involved, but it's really impactful for you in your career. I mean, it's a pattern that I'm seeing with every person that I talk to. So if you're thinking of, hey, what are a couple things I could do to really drive success for myself? Well, that's one of them. Do that.
Exactly.
Just exactly. Do it. That's the idea.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right, Rizwan, the last question I have for you is, I want you to imagine you get into an elevator and there's a young up-and-coming civil engineer in the elevator. You have about 30 to 45 seconds with that engineer. You have to give them career advice for their career in a short amount of time. What would you say to that person? What career advice would you give them if you only had a short amount of time with them?
Well, that is a good question, and what I would tell that person really is that engineering is a profession which it's a commitment to public service, public safety, and sustainability. That's really where civil engineering is about, and these principles will guide you through what we call challenges and help you make a positive impact on the world. Because when you see the bridges, the roads, other infrastructure, and you can refer back to the people, and you feel proud about driving by a building which you designed, So I think it is looking a bigger picture, not only a small picture that you are making a difference, not only for yourself and your company, but really you are making difference in people's life. And incidentally, my wife is a physician, and I sometimes discuss with her that your profession is very noble, but sometimes you deal with one person, and I'm dealing with thousands of people going over my bridge. If something happens to that bridge, guess what? I'm just risking those 1,000 people. So
yeah, you're right.
It's very interesting. Not that any other profession is not as important, but I would say that sustainability of our designs and practices are very important. Public safety is very important, and feeling good about that. So engineering profession is really very rewarding and very satisfying. I really love it every day what I do. It becomes very tiring, but I enjoy that. And you cannot do anything better if you don't enjoy that. So that would be my advice to that young person in the elevator. It's 45 seconds.
No, it's great. And I think it's such a good point. I remember when my kids were younger and they would say, like, well, what does a civil engineer do? I would tell them, look outside, right? Every road you see, every bridge you see, every stormwater, basin you see, it's connected to civil engineering. So I think your point is that it's a very impactful profession. It has a huge impact on the health and safety and welfare of the public. And to your point earlier, if we know our infrastructure is crumbling in the United States, people that are going to be a big part of the solution is civil engineering.
Absolutely.
So this is the
essentiality of engineering, which is so important, because I always look at that. If I design a bridge, I can see that how many hours of somebody's time I'm saving every day by commuting on that bridge, and how much time I'm giving them back to spend with their families or at work or leisure, whatever, So if you convert it into really intangible benefits, they are uncountable, honestly. So it's really a profession which you could not, otherwise we would be living in jungles, and there is no life. And you can still compare that. You go to unfortunately, some countries which are underdeveloped, under even my country in Pakistan, it's not as developed. You can see some people are really don't have drinking water there. They have to walk miles and miles to get drinking water. And can you imagine living here in this country that you would be walking miles to get the water?
Right.
But that is the real life. So that is the difference engineers have made in the public service, public life. You and me basically are enjoying all those benefits. We take everything for granted, but there's a lot more goes behind the scene, and that's all I think engineers doing and making it happen. And I'm really proud to be an engineer, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Rizwan Siddiqi, President and CEO of EBA Engineering, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me here on the Civil Engineering CEO. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Anthony. Really enjoyed. Take care and have a great day.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Rizwan. He's been very successful in his career, and some of the points that he made around the idea of getting active on committees and organizations, engaging with the community. They are things that really successful civil engineers do. So if you want to be successful, please model those approaches. And if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to our channel here, because we will put out videos like this on a weekly basis to help engineers become better managers and leaders. I'll see you next week.